My name's John Garr with Garr Products, and my company is a producer of adjuvants, and we also, the last 8 years, have been developing microbiological formulations. 5 years in product development, 3 years commercially. Have anybody ever messed with the microbes, microbial products? Or are they real microbes, or are they nutritional support for microbes?
Combination.
There's a lot of companies that produce microbial formulations. However, they're nutritional support for the native bugs in the soil. Every square inch of soil has billions of different bacteria in it and microbes, and they all provide some type functions. So a lot of companies, because of shelf life stability, produce formulations that if they have it in inventory for a couple of years, they can still use them. And they might be specifically good to feed the I call them bugs, to feed the bugs. However, the actual material that does the work are the microbes that are native to the soil, and they all do different things. So we developed a product called Stimulate, and it's real microbes. There are approximately 30 different strains of microbes in the formulation, and of the 30 microbes, there's 3 different functions. A third of the bugs make non-symbiotic nitrogen. So you guys have all used inoculant on your soybeans, probably. So those are rhizobia that have to infect the root, and it's a symbiotic relationship. They work together to produce nitrogen. That's why we don't have to put nitrogen with the soybeans. They actually use more nitrogen than a corn plant does. They just make it from the atmosphere. So a third of the formulation in Stimulate produces non-symbiotic nitrogen, which means they produce nitrogen without having to have a host plant affect the root. The other third of the formulation takes unavailable nutrients in the soil and makes them available. So there's about 10 microbes that do that. So there's different nutrients. You got N, P, K, sulfur, manganese, zinc. The different nutrients that are unavailable in the soil are made available by the microbes eating those and converting them into plant available nutrients. And they do that season long. And a gentleman asked in the last, well, what about the next year? The microbes will continue to do that. The difference is they're more dilute once they start getting away from that root. You know, if you got huge concentrations, then they start diluting themselves out. They might not be quite as effective, but over time, they will infect the soil. So the last third, my favorite, and the basis for the name of the product, Stimulate, is a third of the bugs make plant growth regulators that are naturally occurring, that continually feed the plant. So where you can add gibberellic acid or indole-butyric acid, I'm sure everybody's tried those. It was a one-time addition. This product makes those in small doses throughout the season, and it'll increase your root mass, increase the root hairs, which is the actual part of the root that uptake the nutrients, and vitamins and different compounds that stimulate and increase plant health. So we've noticed with the Stimulate that it's about 85% of the time, 85% of the time, you'll see a 3 times return on your investment for yield. So the other thing that we've noticed, there hasn't been a plant that we haven't dug up yet after 3 years of commercial use that hasn't noticed a significant increase in root mass and better plant health. If you look to the right of that yellow flag, you'll see non-treated. If you look from this way, that way, you'll see the Stimulate addition to the Infer treatment. So you can see bigger plant health, bigger root stalk. You'll see a better root mass, and you'll also see a bigger leaf. And if you kind of look, you can see the stalk just looks sturdier to this side. And that comes from bigger root mass, better plant health. That extrapolates to yield in the long run. The more root system that you have, the more chances you have to uptake nutrients to provide food source. Just like, you know, if you eat 2 hamburgers instead of 1, you're eventually going to gain weight. Same concept. I like to say that, you know, the microbiological products, the difference between Stimulate and a lot of products on the market today is the diversity of the microbes and the concentration of those microbes in the formulation. It's 10 to the 9th strength. So if most microbial formulations are 10 to the 5th strength, the difference between 10 to the 5th and 10 to the 9th, does anybody know that difference? That correlation?
Huge.
You'd think that it's 4 times stronger, right? It's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So that means 10 times 10 is 100, 10 times 100 is 1,000, 10 times 1,000 is 10,000. So if a formulation has got 10 to the 5th strength bugs and stimulates 10 to the 9th, it's 10,000 times stronger of bugs. Microbes. I have one customer calls them animals. We have noticed with Stimulate can be used as an in-furrow treatment. You can use it without fertilizer. You can use it with and without fungicides and insecticides. They're not harmful to the microbes. You can put it into the tank a month ahead of time before you go out and use it. We would rather, just like if a rhizobia guy is selling you inoculants for soybeans, to say, well, the best way to do is right before you plant, and that's kind of hard to do. It rains or something. So they're stable in that formulation for a few months easily without any issues. We just like to see them added right before you're going to use them. But if it's a month or 2, that's fine too. We also can use them as a seed treatment. And we've noticed in Nebraska on edible beans, they call them dry beans. I'm like, what's a dry bean? They're like, oh, the ones you eat. I said, well, why don't you just call them edible beans? That's what I call them. But so if you look, I don't know if you can see this picture. Now I got to find it. Thought I had it.
So they did this as a seed treatment?
This was a seed treatment.
Wow.
So that is an edible bean with Stimulate, and that's that's a national competitor's theoretically biological product.
Could you put this on from a seed wagon then?
You can. On our soybeans at home, we put the Stimulate. You have to touch it every once in a while so it doesn't go. Just touch a picture every once in a while. When we put 6 ounces per 100 bushel or per 100 weight of seed, and we have a gravity wagon with an auger that fills a drill up, and it has a little tube that goes in there.
Like a fast treater. And we
treated it as it was going out the auger into the drill. We put 6 ounces. 4 to 6 is the rate. If you've got a really nice uniform high-tech seed treater, you can use less. We've noticed similar results with the Stimulate applied as a seed treatment.
What about wheat?
Absolutely works. Anything that you want to increase root mass. Oops. Okay, who's messing with my phone here?
I did probably. All I gotta do is look at them. Huh?
Would wheat be, John, 6 ounces on wheat?
We like a little bit more with wheat, maybe 8 ounces.
Putting a lot more seeds out there.
Yeah, that 8 ounces on wheat seed.
Per 100 pounds?
Per 100 pounds.
Dry beans?
Dry beans. And we haven't done a test yet. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be something that you guys didn't see that, did you?
You got material for a test work?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And that the customer dug these up. My rep out in Nebraska didn't dig these up. He didn't go look and find the plant. So we've noticed it with sugar beets. We've noticed it with wheat. We've noticed it in cotton. Noticed it in rice. It's a huge difference in plant health and the vigor of the plant. You know, I always tell people it's like yogurt for the soil. You know, you eat yogurts, probiotics, sauerkraut's probiotics. It's the same kind of concept. So we've had some really good luck with the product. We think that for the significant portion that you're going to see at least a 3 times return on your investment. You have to ask these guys what it costs. I'm just the tech guy. Christy was on the first wagon, and guy asked that. I said, hey, I have to ask Christy because you know how women are. They won't let the guys talk about finances. There you go. So we'd like and appreciate if you guys could, if nothing else, try it. I'm confident enough. First year, if you just said, John, I want to try it on 40 acres, I'd say try it on 40 acres, 40 acres. This year, if you say I want to try it on 40, I say try it on 400. That's how confident I am that it's going to provide a good value. And ultimately, that's what it doesn't make any difference if stimulates 10 to the 9th or 10 to the 5th. If it doesn't work, why put it on, right?
Can't do that math.
So, we feel and very confident that you'll see some significant benefits to your plant health and end result yield if you use a stimulate in your applications.
I've seen them use bugs on chicken manure over by Fairbucks.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just eat up there. It gets so hot.
Actually, the flip side to the stimulate is a product called Digest that you could do that on the chicken manure. So it's
They've even had dead chickens.
Yeah, well.
While it eats them up.
Yeah, you get the right mixture, it works pretty good. So is everybody confident of what the stimulate does? 3 different functions. Makes non-symbiotic nitrogen, makes unavailable nutrients available, and also creates plant growth stimulants that continually throughout the growing season contribute to plant health, which ends up increasing your yield.
Will that eat up quite a bit of the stalk that's in the ground?
The stimulate won't, but the Digest would, yes. On the Digest, we're talking about a little different item than they have me here to talk about, but the Digest, if you spray it in the fall on corn stalks, and the Digest solution touches one of those seed, even though you guys tune your combine and you don't have any seed coming out the combine, it all goes in the bin. If you happen to have 1 or 2 and the Digest solution touches it, it won't germinate. So it'll reduce the weed seed too. It's 2 neat products. You have to remember that the Digest and the Stimulate are very high diverse bug mixtures, 30 roughly. Sometimes there's a little bit more when Stimulate is in that mixture because there's those promoters that help that rhizobia infect the plant and that makes the rhizobia healthier. So it's like you eat yogurt, you eat those kind of products, it makes you feel better, it makes you healthier. It's the same concept with Stimulate. And so in most of the applications, we feel that you'll see a significant difference in plant health. Is there going to be some time when you might not see a huge yield difference? That's possible, but we think 80% of the time you're going to see a 3 times return on your investment.
Staff, to address your specific question about the soil microbe testing, we have access to a couple different tests that allow us to test for certain aerobic bacteria, but that test is very limited, and there's so many more microbes in the soil than just aerobic bacteria in that A horizon. So what we're exploring and what's being developed right now in this marketplace is tests that allow us to identify which are these, what little dudes are out there helping us, and then also can we see signatures of other things like algae and other virus and other pathogenic, oriented products or oriented microbes or organisms. So it's a growing, rapidly developing technology for us to be able to identify that diversity. What we do know about different soil structures and textures is that typically your very coarse and large soil particles, like your sandier soils, have less places for them to do their work. So naturally, there's less of those guys out there. So this is a type of product that's actually introducing something that might not otherwise want to set up camp, but you're giving it a temporary home to work in concert with what you want to do with your plant.
That's true. In a cubic centimeter of soil, there's 40 billion microbes. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're always the best ones. We just happen to be able to find the good microbes that may or may not be in the soil that just help with that plant health. It's I still I always go back to the yogurt thing because it's simple. If your microbiologist is a lot more complicated, I mean, you know, it makes a lot of sense when you start using it and you start digging up some plants with and without. You see a big difference. So we'd like for you to try it. The use rate on in-furrow with your fertilizer applications are a pint. So most biological products are a quart, and that pint is probably a huge, it'd be like using 50 gallon of the other product. So it's very concentrated in a seed treatment. We like to see 4 to 8 ounces, and the differential, you know, sometimes you don't have enough room because you're putting other components in there. We have a lot of guys that after 3 years are leaving some of the products out or cutting them back because the stimulates had such a positive effect on the root systems in the soybean. So, you know, the better your seed treatment is, the more efficient it is, the more uniform it mixes, the less of the stimulate you have to use. And we see the same results with 4 to 8 ounces that we do with the pint in the corn in furrow.
John, what about